Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. I woke up this morning, threw myself kind of together. Noticed I was having a really fluffy hair day before I did anything with it. Reminded me of my high school days. So I said, screw this. Let's go throw on the last concert tee I've got left from my high school days. And let's do a CD I absolutely loved in my high school days. So today I am taking a look at Whole Live Through This. Totally forgot the name of the album. So I'm going to get into a little political stuff. I know I usually don't like to when I do the reviews, but I'm going to get into it a little bit here. I think Courtney Love has taken a lot of crap. I think some of it's been deserving. I think a lot of it's been deserving, but I think a lot of her brash behavior is because of a lot of what she's endured. I don't have sympathy for junkies. I don't. Addiction is a condition. It's something that can be hardwired into a person, not something they can control when they're spiraling out of control, blah, 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 blah. But everybody knows heroin's bad. Stay the fuck away from it. End of story, okay? So there's really no excuse other than she opted to start using it in the first place. So that's the take on the drug scene. However, where I do have a lot of sympathy for Courtney Love is in the case of Harvey Weinstein. She was one of the very first people to come out against Harvey Weinstein. She took nothing but BS for it. It was crazy Courtney was what they were all saying. And it destroyed her career, and she's never recovered from it. And it's been a downhill spiral for her ever since. Continuing on and on and on. So I have nothing but sympathy for the woman and the way her life has transpired. And it's a real shame because this Courtney Love on this album here, I absolutely loved. I was so infatuated with Courtney Love back in the day. I really was. Absolutely loved her. I had an article from when I was up in Montreal, big article like that. It had a picture of Courtney Love like about that big on it. Just, face forward to the camera, great shot, just so in love with Courtney Love at one point. Not so much anymore, that those days are over. Hot mess. I grew up not into that shit. Okay, so this album though, this album, let's get into it because this is a great album. And one of the reasons I'm covering this is I haven't covered enough female artists yet. I really haven't, especially in the rock world, because there's not enough to really truly get into and cover. Courtney Love does deserve to be looked at and does deserve, not that way, I know what I've already said, but I didn't mean it that way. She does deserve some respect. Now, depending on how much you want to go with, she doesn't play live, she's a horrible guitarist, stuff like that, all these videos you've seen that they single out just her guitar and you can hear how much everybody else is compensating for, stuff like that. I don't doubt any of that. I don't doubt that Courtney Love, to some degree, uses her guitar as a shield when she's up there on stage, just to give herself something to do and something else to keep her hands busy and her mind kind of focused on while she's doing the vocals still. I get that because I do the same thing myself, so I can get that. Now, granted, I don't play guitar for that exact reason. Okay, I can deal with bass a lot better. Uh, and drums even easier than that, go figure, right? So anyways, let's get into this album. Very first song I ever heard off of this album is the lead track off of this album, which is Violet. And, right from the very first line, all the stars are like emerald fish. I believe that was the line or something like that. It's been a while, honestly. I didn't listen to this album before doing the review. That's how well I know this album because I've listened to it so much over the years. But because it is such a brash album and it's grunge at its grungy-ish, punky-ish, And Courtney Love's vocals are something to be desired. You either like them or you don't. I'm gonna be fair. Anyways, uh, so on this album, it opens up with Violet, and I love Violet, and I really truly love the music on it. I love how it starts off kind of soft. Like you can hear the harshness in it. You can hear in the production that there's a harshness that was intended to be there, a roughness that was intended to be there, a jaggedness that was meant to be there, and it starts out kind of this great little strummy thing going on, and then when it kicks in on the choruses and the pre-chorus and the choruses, uh, it gets really brash and heavy. It's just this great song, and at the time, I mean, you're talking 1994, and I bought this album when it first came out. Okay, I wasn't one of the, well, maybe not immediately when it first came out, but I had bought it before Kurt Cobain had. No, I couldn't have bought it before Kurt Cobain had died. He had already died at that point. This is gonna get edited. Okay, so when I bought this album in 1994, metal was kind of in a weird spot. Hard rock was kind of in a weird spot. There wasn't a lot of it. This was not hard rock, obviously, or heavy metal, but there was a brashness to this. There was that intensity, that anger, that get in your face mentality, that you found on Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. Okay, that totally in your face mentality, but without any of the musical acumen of what you found on Appetite for Destruction. Let's be clear. I'm not trying to say that this was. I'm just trying to say that vibe, that kind of in your face, But Guns N' Roses wasn't doing that at that point, 94, you were still. I think they were still touring the Illusions. We might have had Spaghetti Incident by then, possibly. I don't remember 100% off the top of my head. So it's. Metallica was just about to start, like we're Out of the Black album, and we're still a couple years before we get into Load, and it was a weird period. Music was just there was a slump. There really was. And this came out, and this helped fill that slump. It really did. And I wasn't really into grunge, and the reason I wasn't into grunge is grunge. Most of the grunge I found didn't sound like this, except for Nirvana, and that runs into something I'm going to get into in a little bit. So we're going to move on. Next track on here was the next music video. Much music was a major part of how I got into this album, the videos, like Violet. I heard Violet right away. I went out looking for the album to pick it up. Then the Miss World video came out. I'm like, oh, great track to pick for, single. And I thought it was interesting that they went with the first two, and there's some in here I can understand why they didn't do it, but Miss World, I love the video for it, and that's that. But the I'm Miss World, Nobody Loves Me, Kill Me Pills, stuff like that. I really wish I could remember the lyrics a little better. Lyrics have never been my forte. That's why I'm not a lead vocalist. Never was. But Miss World is fantastic, and I love the music all over it. And I like that it never gets overly heavy. Like it gets meaningful, it gets passionate, it gets a little abrasive, but it never gets overly heavy. That gets into Plump, and I'm not sure what to say about Plump. Plump was never a song I was into off this album. I really wasn't. It's one of the ones that definitely was a skip it song. Asking for It lyrically has a great musical message for it. It really is that whole. This was even before the Harvey Weinstein thing. Okay, you gotta remember the Harvey Weinstein thing didn't happen until she was working on Man on the Moon with Jim Carrey, And so you're talking significantly later. And asking for it is basically all about, commentary on the concept. Oh, so she was asking for it. She was asking for it. That whole thing where it was, when guys would say, "Well, look at the way she's dressed," or even other women would say, "Well, look at the way she was dressed. She was asking for it." This is commentary on that mentality, and no woman is ever asking for it, no matter how they're dressed. Okay, unless they're actually asking for it, they're not asking for it. That's how that is. Okay, I don't care if the woman is walking down the street buck ass naked. That doesn't mean that she's asking for it. The only thing she's asking for is attention because she's walking down the street buck ass naked. Okay. At least here in North America, let's be clear. There's other places that's a totally different story, but she is not asking for it as in not asking to be raped. No one asks to be raped. And amendment, yes, there are people that ask to be raped, but there is a special word that goes with that, and that's a whole thing, and that's a fetish, and that's a different story. That's what one does in their bedroom under consensual guidelines, even if it's playing non-consensual guidelines, is but different, So, for that reason alone, Asking for It is a great song. And really, Asking for It was ahead of its time. It's a song that I think is honestly due for a return. But, once again, I'm not going to get into any of the other stuff there. From there, we go into Jennifer's Body. Now, this was, once again, way before there was a horror movie by the name of Jennifer's Body. But Jennifer's Body is once again another story about the tragedy of girls and what girls go through. That is. Now, I don't want to get into that because I know there's going to be people that are going to be like, "Well, guys go through shit." I agree, guys totally go through shit, and I think the shit the guys that go through is underplayed. But that doesn't. Not right now. We're not talking about that. Right now, we're talking about the tragedy of what girls go through and how they're abused or used and thrown away. It's sad and it's horrible. It really is. uh and for me, I this is why I don't dwell on it too much. Now, the music behind Jennifer's Body, I love the melodies behind it. I love the harmonies in there, or the attempted harmonies in there. I will say the one thing this album suffers from is it was before Melissa Oftamar, and who shows up for the Celebrity Skin album, which was the next album, and the Celebrity Skin album with Melissa Oftamar on it on the bass and doing harmonies with Courtney Love was brilliant. And it's a shame she wasn't here, but the band here was brilliant as well. But Jennifer's Body has great melody, has great music to it. I really like the whole way around the presentation of it. Then we go into Doll Parts. Now, one of the things I really love about Courtney's lyrics on here and the way Courtney presents the lyrics, whether it's whether you want to refer to her style as singing or not, that's up to you. I'll say her singing, but her presentation is very poetic in a lot of ways, and Doll Parts is one of those examples where she really kind of pushes the poetry of her lyrics more than the music or the song itself. And there is good music in there, but Doll Parts is also a very good example of Courtney Love not being able to sing. It really is. I think out of all the songs on here, it's the one song I always hated her vocals on the most, and it's a shame because it's a good song. I really think it's a good song, very solid song, and I'd like to hear it done by other people, just not Courtney Love. Uh, okay, so from there we go on to Credit in the Straight World. I'm not sure how to take this one because this could be a double play kind of song. I've never bothered to take the time to read or watch interviews or anything for Courtney Love with what her takes on these songs are and stuff like that. Because when it comes to grunge music, I'm hit and miss. Some I like, some I don't, and a lot of it I just don't care enough about the artists themselves to really get into it. But credit in the straight world can go one of two ways. You can go the whole straight gay mentality and, saying that someone's a credit in the straight world. Um, in a manner saying supporting stuff like that. Or, I'm downplaying that, sorry. You could say that, credit in the straight world is someone who is, in the straight world is very sympathetic to the plight. Back in the early 90s, 94, okay, gays were still taking immense amount of shit in 94. Okay, there were none of this rainbows everywhere flooding everything stuff going on. That didn't happen. It just, that wasn't the case. It was very much, you were still very much in the closet in a lot of cases. College was when you were allowed to come out at the earliest kind of shit. And even then, it was like, good luck. There were bad times still to be gay, and that. So credit in the straight world can very much be taken that way, but the other way is you got to remember, this is a band, Courtney Love, whole grunge Seattle, that whole movement, heroin. I've already mentioned that once. So straight being someone who is not a user, not a drinker, someone who is completely straight line, straight edge, I believe was the term that I remember a lot of guys throwing around back in the day. So credit in the straight world can be taken that way as well. Someone who's a credit that way. And the lyrics, if you go through the lyrics and whatnot, from what I remember and whatnot, it could go either way. And I always kind of took it as either way. Fun song. I've given it more credit than credit's due at this point with the amount of time I've spent talking about it. Softer Softest. Lyrically, musically, it's a great when the album is playing. Unlike Plump, which I would actually skip, Softer Softest, I'd actually usually let play through. It's not really a song that I care about one way or the other. But, it is. Then we go on She Walks on Me. I like She Walks on Me. Very brash, very fast, very in your face, very aggressive. But then the lyrical deliverance, kind of like in the chorus parts, it is a little more pulled back. The music's still harsh, but the lyrics are a little more pulled back, a little more delivery to them. And I really dig it. I totally get into it. I really think it's a good, fun song. After that, we get into I Think That I Would Die. Good tune, but not really worth all that much time from my perspective. Gutless is good. It's another brash, in your face kind of tune. It's all right. I like it, but it's not a standout kind of song. After all these years, it's not one that I'm like, oh yeah, I want to hear that one. I just don't. So we get to the very last track. This album closes out on a fantastic, fantastic album. If you've watched my reviews, other past reviews, you've heard me say how much the last song on an album really can make a difference. Rockstar closes out this album perfectly. And it's one of those songs where the title Rockstar to me never really made sense because it's not really a Rockstar kind of, like, they don't talk Rockstar-ish or whatnot. I just love the reflection of it. I love the way that she's going on talking about, wanting to be huge and wanting to be a rock star and stuff like that. But she doesn't, it's not like Nickelback's "I Want to Be a Rock Star" or shit like that. You know, like this is totally awesome, in your face, hard, heavy party rocket up, but not rocket up as in drinking rocket up. I mean, like getting out there and really putting on a performance in music. And Courtney's voice is horrendous, but it's beautifully horrendous on this song. I think she sounds perfect on this song. This song belongs up there with all these other great legendary anthems from that time, or even not from that time, from other times. Like Rockstar could easily be covered by one of the classic punk bands, and it would sound like one of them. You know, Ramones could do this, or the Sex Pistols, and it would sound great if it was them doing that. You know, it really would. It was that cool of a tune. To me. The whole way around, I don't listen to the album as much as I used to, but that's because I'm the only one around that ever seems to like the album. All the girlfriends I've had, my daughter even, none of them ever got in the hole. My daughter is, you may have heard in other reviews I've mentioned, is a brilliant vocalist. I think she's got this amazing talent. She's a great little rhythm guitarist as well when she's doing it. I loved playing with her. She's amazing. Never got in a hole. Never once. I put it on multiple times. It was something she just was not interested in. And a lot of it is Courtney Love's voice. It really is. Her voice is something to be desired. I personally would love to hear some other bands do this. I think Hole deserves more credit than they get. And I think one of the reasons why they don't get the credit they deserve is because basically Hole broke out after Kurt Cobain died. Yes, their first album came out before Kurt Cobain died, but rumors are that Kurt Cobain basically helped pen this entire album. Musically, that's possible. I don't think that is completely out of the question, but I think lyrically, a lot of it was Courtney, just because of the content. And, as I go through here, I'm looking for details, and it says all songs written by Hole except for, and Cobain's name is nowhere in the except fors. I do want to point out, okay, so the band was Courtney Love on vocals and guitars, Eric Erlandson on guitars, the token male of the group, and he was not wanted there. He took a lot of shit being there because Courtney had wanted to put together an all-girl band, and he was the only guitarist that fit the bill, unfortunately for him. And bonus for him too. But anyways, then we got Kristen Pfaff on bass, piano, background vocals, and Patty Schmel on drums. Now, by the time you get to the best of Hole's music, which would be the Celebrity Skin album, Eric and Courtney are the only two that are left. I believe Heroin got both of the other members. I would have to double check on that. If you are into grunge, this is an album you really do need to check out. If you're young and into grunge and just discovering it, as it's going retro now and stuff, this is an album you gotta check out. There's a lot of parts to this, a lot of elements to this. I could see where they would have inspired The Pretty Reckless, or they would have inspired Hailstorm. And I'd love to hear, Hailstorm do a Hole tune, because oh my god, it would be so good. It would be so good. Or even The Pretty Reckless. Like there are some definite great acts out there that could definitely do some great Hole covers, and I think they'd probably be better than the originals. I look at these as blueprints, and I'm waiting for the right musicians to do them proper justice. So that is my views on this album. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications when new episodes come out. Otherwise, peace, love, and take care.